I'm back again with some more goodies from Minisforum. If you like small form factor machines, you gotta check out Minisforum. There's something very special in here. It's a mini, but it's a mini by a different color. Have you ever seen a mini that you can add a GPU to after the fact? This is a 5700G, so it's an APU, but you can add a GPU. Let's unbox it. This is the Elitemini. This configuration is a 5700G with 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gig NVMe SSD, I do believe. You can order it from them fully configured, or you can get a bare bones and DIY it. Look at this madness. Madness. Alright, so you've got quite the accessory bundle with the machine. We'll get to the machine. HDMI cable. What? What is this? Something with PCIe slots? This weird little piece of plastic with connectors on the end? What's happening? Little bracket things? Some more other different brackets? Another set of brackets? But in here, this is where the magic is. Be sure to unplug the power adapter before using an ATX power supply. If both are used at the same time, there is a risk of causing a short circuit.
Malfunction.
There's a power brick in here. Don't use the power brick if you're going to use an ATX power supply. Wait, what's he talking about? Using an ATX power supply with a mini? It's the madness. Yes, there's a container for the power brick in here. And then powered by AMD. This is the B550 chipset. Yes, it is a socketed CPU. You can change it. 65 watts recommended. Just to be clear what's happening here, this is your normal Ryzen mini PC. There's nothing special about it on the surface. We've got DisplayPort, HDMI, and a super speed 10 gigabit USB Type-C, 2.5 gig LAN, and 4 more 5 gigabit USB ports on the back. And that's what we're working with for our USB connections. We don't really have any extra USB anywhere else on the device, but there's a door on the bottom here. This is a PCI Express X16, a full X16 slot. This is basically a docking station for this. So, look, it's a PCIe card edge connector. Boom. And yes, there is ventilation in the bottom of this, so it will breathe. Ye olde 3090 MSI Supreme, because why not? Boom. There you go. Well, there's some screws and brackets and stuff that you'll add to this, but this is to give you the idea. The power supply will mount roughly in this area, and yes, there are brackets and stuff that will facilitate that. And then I've got my 3 power connectors here, which is crazy. Like you probably wouldn't be doing this with a 3090. But this lets you start with a small NUC-sized machine and then expand it. Lets you start with a machine like this, or if you want to go nuts with your home lab, you want to add something completely crazy and over the top in the PCI Express interface, you can do it. This is really cool. I love this. But even without this crazy docking feature, it is a cool machine in its own right, because this is a full-fat B550 chipset. And yes, let's take it apart and take a look at the inside. So on the bottom, there are 2 rubber doors for power connectors if you're going to use the external power supply, so you don't have a power brick. You're going to use a GPU, the power brick doesn't work for you. You need a regular ATX power supply. That makes sense. One thing that I really like here that comes pre-installed is a 2.5-inch bracket with your SATA connection, so you can install that here. Here's the 512 gigabyte M.2 that this system came with, and there's room to mount physically another one right here. Now you should be careful when you're disassembling this, because nothing holds the motherboard in except for the Wi-Fi antenna leads. So you're going to want to take out the M.2 for the Wi-Fi, because there's not enough slack on the leads if you do that. But then inside is this beautiful thing, our low profile heatsink. It's designed to duct air from the outside. We've got our 2 notebook DDR DIMM slots. This is our 2 8 gig DIMMs, I believe. So if you get the bare bones kit, you will have to pop the motherboard out in order to do that. But this beautiful monstrosity, it's so awesome. This is the naked version of what you're working with. This is a miracle of modern miniaturization. How could you not be excited? And the motherboard does actually have one extra 4-pin fan header at the bottom edge. That's pretty awesome. Gosh, this thing is a little beast. So in the box, the full accessory kit, you get the power adapter, power cable, HDMI cable, SATA cable, a VESA mount, so you can mount this on a VESA thing, the graphics card base, the graphics card panel, support frame, some acrylic decorative stuff, a silicone pad. The bare bones version of this is $319 for the pre-order with a 5700G as I've got it configured here, and a 512 gig SSD is $729. You can get it with just the CPU and no RAM or SSD, and then it's $599. And again, it's going to go up a little bit if you don't pre-order it. Now, while the board will support PCI Express 4.0 CPUs, it can't carry PCI Express 4 to the GPU because, well, it's a little tricky. For the CPUs that support PCIe 4, if you want to run PCIe 4 M.2 in both M.2 slots, that's totally okay. It's just the GPU is going to run at PCI Express 3.0 speeds. Minisforum has designed this package to support the 65-watt CPUs. Even though the power brick is 119 watts, 65 watts for the CPU. And this is a pretty substantial cooler for a 65-watt CPU in this configuration. Certainly this is the biggest heatsink on any small form factor machine that we've seen in the 65-watt range. And it is a socketed CPU. You can replace it. If you buy this with the bare bones, yes, it does come with the heatsink. So good job, Minisforum. I really like this bundle and package. And this is definitely something that you can buy and just put the cabling and the GPU dock in a box for later use. Let's get Linux on this and some Steam games and see how that goes. Well, I've got my system set up, and it is impressively quiet. If I didn't know it was on, I would say that it's off. And I can actually feel heat at the side. So when I put my hand on the side, I can feel heat coming out the side vent. I know the fans are operating, but it is whisper quiet. I was able to set up Manjaro without any issues. Everything was detected. All the hardware, audio, haven't run into any problems so far. Even the 2.5 gigabit LAN is working as I expect. I was able to install Steam, log in, download games. It's a shockingly good experience so far. Now, of course, if you'd rather run Windows on this, it is fully supported for Windows and all of the drivers and everything else is there, but out of the box, this is a very impressive Linux experience. According to LM sensors, I'm idling at about 66 degrees C. Not bad. Now, if you want to check out the full Phoronix Test Suite benchmarks, not a problem, there's a link to that below. This is a 5700G system. Everything was right in line with where I would expect for the 5700G processor. I'm going to try to get my hands on a 5700G Pro and put that in this platform and see how that does. That might unlock error correcting memory for us. I'm really not sure. I'm not sure if the platform supports that. Wait for me to confirm that. I've got some work to do. But the 5700G, it's a flawless experience. So the included cables, the pinout is designed for a particular Silverstone power supply. Again, details are at the Minisforum website, but it will work with any ATX power supply. So my SFX power supply here is not a problem. In the final retail version of this, they're also going to include a bracket for the power supply, but that wasn't quite ready yet for what they sent over for me. But like I say, 3D printing something or something to hold the power supply, not really a big deal. Standard power supply plugs in here. And because it's an SFX power supply, I don't have too much cable slack. Given what Minisforum is trying to do with this product really sort of kinda is a first of its kind. It's gonna be a little rough around the edges. But it's just so darn cool being able to add a GPU. I would love it. I mean, can you imagine the next version of this, which is maybe compatible with 100-watt processors? I mean, you'd need better cooling and everything else. I mean, okay, at that point, you basically are better off just building an ITX machine. But if you have a fear of missing out and you think that you might add a GPU to your mini computer in the future, I'm surprised this works as well as it does. Well, after a couple of days of benchmarking, it's fairly impressive. I've done the Phoronix Test Suite. The test results from the Mini is, some of the results are a little lower than the reference, but some of the results are a little higher. There's probably differences in the distro. I'm using Manjaro. I'm going to do some more testing to see if I can unleash a few more watts. But overall, it's pretty much in line with where 5700G should be. And the fact that I can do GPU expansion generally very impressive. It's innovative. It's out of the box thinking. And the final version will have a bracket for your power supply and a cable to connect the power supply to the Mini so that you don't have to use the power brick, the included power brick. So if you have a fear of missing out because you want to add a GPU later, you want to deal with the APU for now, this is a great solution for that. Adding a modest GPU like a 6600 XT to this platform with a small power supply, it's a really powerful machine. It's very impressive what the Minisforum people are doing. I'm Wendell, this is Level 1. I'm signing out. You can find me in the Level 1 forums.